So the Rockets got KD. Durant's scoring impact is the first thing that hits. The Rockets struggled hard in the half court, ranking 22nd in points per play there last season. It was a problem that exploded in the playoffs, especially during clutch minutes, where their offense dropped to a brutal 91 rating when the game was within 5 points in the last 5 minutes. Durant's isolation scoring is the exact kind of antidote they need. He led the entire league in points per direct isolation, with 1.12 points per possession among players with over 200 isolation. That's not just good, that's elite level shot creation when things get tight. The Rockets were 7th in how often they ran isolations, but ranked 27th in how efficient they were at it. Adding Durant doesn't just help, it completely changes that dynamic. The shooting metrics are just filthy. Durant hit 49.7% on jumpers, the best in the entire league. His mid-range, 53.1%. Off the dribble, 50.9%. Meanwhile, Houston ranked 27th in effective field goal percentage on those same off-the-dribble jumpers. You can't even pretend this isn't a massive upgrade. Durant's true shooting percentage was .642 last season, compared to Jalen Green's .544. That's a canyon of difference. And Durant hit 43% of his threes on nearly 6 attempts per game. That kind of spacing is going to be perfect for opening up the post for Sengun. Now, on the other end of the court, things get just as interesting. Houston's defense was already elite, ranking 4th in efficiency last season, but they lose Dillon Brooks, who was 3rd in defensive matchups against All-Star. That shifts a lot onto Thompson, who's more than capable. He held opponents to 42.3% shooting when guarding them one-on-one. But Durant's size is going to let them stay huge across the board. He's 6 feet 11 inches tall, and now Houston can run lineups with 4 guys, 6 feet 7 inches or taller. That means they can switch everything and still protect the rim. Durant added 1.2 blocks per game last year, and that kind of secondary rim protection's not nothing. His playmaking shouldn't be overlooked either. Durant averaged 4.2 assists per game last year in Phoenix, but when he faced Houston, he upped that to 6. That tells you he reads defenses well, especially when they're forcing decisions quickly. Under Udoka, Houston's assist rate jumped from 28th to 12th. Durant slots in beautifully with that style, and with Green gone, he was putting up just 3.4 assists per game. That's a real net gain. Durant also takes better care of the ball. His turnover rate was 13.5%, better than Green's 15.8%, for a team that finished 21st in turnover percentage. That mattered. Durability's the sticking point, right? Durant's going to be 37 years old in September. He missed 20 games last year, but still played 62, his best total since way back in the 2018 to 2019 season. And when he played, his teams won. Phoenix was 33-29 with him on the court, and a miserable 3-17 without him. Houston's got the depth to manage his rest. Guys like Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore can eat minutes. Sengun himself only averaged 31.2 minutes per game last season, so they're already used to spreading the load. In the playoffs, you really saw how the minutes add up. Durant played 36.5 minutes per game last year, his lowest since 2009. That lines up with Houston's approach. They're not going to grind him into the floorboards. They know the goal is to have him fresh for the games that matter. The financial angle's sneaky important. Durant's deal is expiring at $54.7 million, which opens the door for Houston to lock him in for 2 more years at $122 million without crossing any nasty luxury tax thresholds. They've got room until 2027 when Thompson's max extension kicks in. That's a window, and they managed to keep all of their future picks from Phoenix, including that juicy unprotected 2027 pick and a swap in 2029. They didn't touch their young core either. Whitmore, Shepherd, they're still there, which keeps options open. The chemistry part's backed up by history. Durant and Udoka work together both in Brooklyn and with USA Basketball. Udoka's offense is built around quick decisions. Move it in half a second or less. That's Durant's world. He's always been sharp off catch and shoot opportunities, hitting over 50% from deep in those spots for his career. You drop him into that system, and it's plug and play. In terms of pressure games, he's a killer. Durant has put up 26.8 points per game in 35 career Game 7s. That's not just someone who shows up. That's someone who lives in that moment. Houston went 0-3 in clutch situations against Golden State in the playoffs. That's not going to be the case with Durant on the floor. He just gives them a calm, reliable option who can go get a bucket when everything else falls apart. And this isn't just theoretical. Stat models like Raptor see the addition as worth 8.4 wins over the course of the season. That's a real shift. Vegas adjusted their title odds from plus 1,800 to plus 850. That's not hype. That's a measurable difference. All of this comes together to show that Durant isn't just fitting into the Rocket. He's covering up their cracks, raising their floor, and pulling their ceiling higher. His offensive polish helps them close out tight games. His shot creation balances out the flaws in their half-court sets. His defense and length fit with what they already do well, and the roster's still deep enough to keep him healthy without needing him to carry things nightly. The financial side's tidy too. They're competitive now and still have future flexibility. That's the kind of move that takes a team from promising to actual threat. But let's talk about his fit with Sengun. Durant and Sengun might be the most fascinating frontcourt pairing in the league next season, because they solve each other's problems in ways that are both obvious and sneakily complex. Sengun's offensive efficiency took a pretty noticeable dip last season. His true shooting percentage dropped to 54.5, and he only hit 51.9% of his two-pointers, both career lows. That decline had everything to do with the way defenses were able to collapse on him. Without enough shooters around him, defenders just clogged the lane and dared Houston to beat them from outside. That is where Durant changes everything. Durant hit 43% of his threes last season on 6 attempts a game. That level of perimeter shooting doesn't just stretch the defense, it warps it. His catch and shoot numbers were ridiculous, with a 66.9 effective field goal percentage and 45.6% from 3 in those situations. That kind of threat forces defenses to stay honest. It means Sengun will have way more room to work inside, whether he's posting up or rolling to the rim. And that space is going to unlock everything he does best. The two-man game between these two has crazy potential. Durant dished out 4.2 assists per game last season, which is solid for a scorer of his caliber. Sengun, meanwhile, gave out 4.9 assists, and that's elite for a center. You don't usually see two frontcourt players with that kind of passing vision on the same team. That opens up high-low actions, handoffs, and all kinds of motion-based sets that'll keep defenses chasing shadow. Durant's isolation efficiency was off the charts at 1.12 points per possession, and Sengun put up 1.05 points per possession as a roll man. Combine those skill sets, and it's hard to see how defenses will keep up. On defense, Sengun turned things around in a big way last season. He went from being a defensive target to anchoring Houston's 4th-ranked defense. He's never going to be a shot blocker, but he uses quick hands and solid positioning to make plays and force turnover. That said, having Durant on the back line makes things easier. With a 7 feet 5 inch wingspan and 1.2 blocks per game, Durant can offer help from the weak side and cover up mistakes. That lets Sengun stay focused on holding his position instead of having to fly around trying to contest everything. And it's now the offseason, and while you're waiting on free agency and trades, now's the perfect time to focus on your health. That's where Factor comes in. Factor is helping me stay on track with ready-to-eat meals that take just 2 minutes. No prep, no cleanup. I've been loving the garlic herb chicken and the chili lime pork chop. Super flavorful, super easy. Instead of wasting time cooking or grabbing fast food, I can stay focused on hoops and content. Factor delivers fresh, not frozen, meals straight to your door. And they actually taste amazing. They've got over 45 options every week, so you'll never get bored. Whether you're bulking, cutting, or just trying to eat better, you can choose from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, or even vegan meals. And it's not just dinners. They've got breakfasts, lunches, snacks, and desserts too. Everything you need to power through your day without wasting time. Get started at factormeals.com/modernjam50 off and use code ModernJam50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code ModernJam50 off at factormeals.com/modernjam50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Thank you to Factor for the sponsor. Durant also gives them options with lineups. When they run him with Sengun, Thompson, and Jabari Smith Jr., they've got size everywhere and the ability to switch almost everything. Durant contested nearly half of the threes he faced last year, and opponents only shot 45.6% in those situations. That's a huge asset in a league where spacing rules everything. The real magic is how their styles mesh. Sengun loves to pass out of the post, and Durant knows exactly how to move off the ball. With Sengun hitting almost 5 assists per game, and Durant taking close to 6 catch-and-shoot threes a night, the setup writes itself. If defenses double Sengun, they leave Durant open. If they stay home on Durant, Sengun gets a one-on-one in the paint. Either way, someone's eating. Then you throw in transition. Durant was in the 85th percentile in transition scoring last year, putting up 1.18 points per possession. Sengun averaged 7 rebounds a game, so he's pulling down boards and immediately looking up the floor. That leads to early offense, and Durant's one of the best in the league at running the wing and punishing teams before they get set. the numbers back up the idea that this works. Durant had a net rating differential of plus 8.4 last year in Phoenix. Sengun had plus 6.1 with Houston. Put that together, and the projection is that their pairing could be over plus 12 in net rating. That's a top-tier combo. Durant's clutch scoring matters here too. He's put up 26.8 points per game in 35 Game 7s. That kind of presence is exactly what Houston was missing when they collapsed in the clutch against Golden State, where they managed just 91 offensive rating in those high-pressure moments. There's also a bit of NBA history being made here. Durant has never played with a big like Sengun before. Most of his previous centers were finishers, not facilitators. Sengun's averaging over 4 assists per game for his career, and that's rare. On the flip side, Sengun's never shared the floor with someone who bends the defense like Durant does. With a 64.2 true shooting percentage and one of the most dangerous jumpers in the league, Durant commands constant attention. The timelines even line up well. Durant's contract is expiring at $54.7 million, which gives Houston room to extend him for 2 more years at a big number without running into luxury tax issues until 2027. Sengun's still on his rookie scale deal through 2026, which means the team can run this pairing for a while before the cap gets tight. That's a window where they can really push for something without having to blow up the roster. What's maybe most exciting is just how unique this pairing is. You don't see many front courts where both guys can score, pass, and shoot at this level. Durant's off-ball gravity is going to unlock lanes for Sengun. Sengun's vision is going to make Durant's life easier than it's been in years. They complement each other in a way that turns mismatches into game plans, and again, none of this requires them to play 40 minutes a night. The Rockets have the depth to manage minutes and keep them fresh. Durant played 36.5 minutes a game last year, the lowest since his early Oklahoma City days. Sengun averaged just over 31, with guys like Cam Whitmore and Reed Shepherd able to spell them. There's no need to overwork either of them during the regular season. Defensively, the balance is going to help too. Sengun's not a rim protector, but now he doesn't have to be. Durant can handle that from the weak side. And in switch-heavy schemes, Sengun doesn't have to be the guy chasing guards on the perimeter. Durant, Thompson, and Smith can do that. All Sengun needs to do is be smart, hold his ground, and communicate. That's something he already does well. And there's upside. Sengun's still getting better. He's only 23. His passing, footwork, and touch are all top tier for his age. Now he gets to learn next to one of the most efficient scorers of all time. That's not just about numbers. It's about how to manage games, when to pick your spots, and how to handle playoff intensity. Durant's presence helps fast-track Sengun's growth in ways that go beyond the box score. It's not a stretch to call this one of the best offensive duos in the league heading into next season. They fix each other's weaknesses and double down on their strengths. The Rockets were already showing signs of being a serious team. This just accelerates it. And if they stay healthy, the Durant-Sengun pairing has a real shot at being the engine behind a deep playoff run. But then we can do the same with Thompson. Durant and Thompson make for one of the most oddly perfect basketball duos on paper, and the numbers back that up at every level. Offensively, Thompson is an elite slasher and transition threat. He shot 55.7% from the field last season, almost entirely on drives, cuts, and in transition. But his three-point shooting still has a pulse rate, just 27.5% from deep. That kind of number tanks spacing unless it's surrounded by elite perimeter shooting, which Durant brings by the truckload. Durant hit 43% of his threes last year on 6 attempts per game. That's not just spacing, that's defensive manipulation. Defenses can't sag off Durant. His catch and shoot efficiency was ridiculous at 66.9 effective field goal percentage, and he shot 45.6% from 3 in those situations. So defenders have to stay glued to him. That yanks help defenders away from the rim, giving Thompson wide open driving lanes. For a guy who lives off of his first step and elite athleticism, that's a massive upgrade. And it works both ways. Durant gets to benefit from Thompson's chaos in transition. Thompson averaged 1.18 points per possession in transition, putting him in the 85th percentile. And Durant, who led the league in isolation, scoring at 1.12 points per possession, ensures they can flip the switch from transition to half court without losing rhythm. On defense, it gets even more freaky. Thompson was arguably one of the best perimeter defenders in the league last season. He held opponents to 40.5% shooting as the primary defender, the best mark among players with over 500 defensive matchups. That's clamps, and he landed on the all-defensive first team because of it. Durant's rim protection helps that even more. His wingspan is 7 feet 5 inches, and he added 1.2 blocks per game last year, serving as a very reliable help side anchor. That combination lets Thompson play even more aggressively at the point of attack, knowing Durant is lurking behind him. And the switchability is absurd. Durant's 6 feet 11 inches tall. Thompson is 6 feet 7. Jabari Smith Jr. is 6 feet 10. So when the Rockets roll out a small ball lineup with those three and Sengun or another forward, they can switch everything. Durant's length lets him close out shooters effectively. He held opponents to 45.6% shooting on contested threes. Thompson can guard basically every backcourt scorer in the league and do it well. They can rotate, trap, recover, and scramble without giving up easy buckets. Thompson's playmaking also leveled up last season. As a starter, he averaged 5.2 assists per game. He had 4 games with double-digit assists, which is a big sign for someone who came into the league with questions about his ball handling consistency. Durant's passing continues to be underrated too. He averaged 4.2 assists in Phoenix, and against Houston over the last 2 seasons, he dropped 6 per game. He reads double teams and uses his length to deliver passes over the top of defenders. That dynamic means the Rockets won't be stuck with one ball handler. They've got dual creators in the front court and the back court. And if you care about turnovers, which coaches definitely do, Durant is once again the model of control. His turnover rate was 13.5%. Thompson's was 15.8%, which was actually an improvement from his rookie year. Having Durant to stabilize late-game possessions and take some of the pressure off Thompson's handle is a major bonus. It means the Rockets can trust either guy to initiate offense in tight moments without coughing up the ball. Lineup versatility might be the hidden gem here. With Durant playing power forward and Thompson sliding to shooting guard, Houston can build a lineup with 3 guys, all 6 feet 7 or taller. Durant, Thompson, and Smith Jr. all offer size, athleticism, and at least 2 of them can hit shots consistently from the perimeter. That group saw limited action in the playoffs, but still posted a plus 12 net rating when they shared the floor. That's not a fluke, that's a sign that the combination works. Clutch scoring has to be mentioned too. Durant's been through more playoff wars than anyone on the Rockets roster. He's put up 26.8 points per game across 35 Game 7s. He doesn't shrink in big moments. And Thompson, even as a young player, made a name for himself by locking up Curry in key stretches during the playoff series against Golden State. Curry had trouble shaking him late in game, which is a badge of honor few defenders wear. From a financial standpoint, the pairing is easy to fit. Thompson's salary is just $9.7 million next season, still on his rookie deal. Durant's expiring contract is at $54.7 million, but the Rockets are fine on cap space for now. They won't have to worry about luxury tax consequences until 2027, when Thompson's max extension hits. That gives them a couple of years to build something real while staying financially stable. That window is huge because Durant gives the Rockets win-now firepower. Thompson gives them a two-way foundational piece who's only going to get better. Over the next 2 to 3 years, they can realistically contend without gutting the roster or sacrificing long-term flexibility. That's a rare setup. Most contenders have to go all in and pay the price later. Houston somehow has both. And stylistically, the blend is just fun. Durant's scoring gravity draws defenders out. Thompson slices through the space left behind. Durant slows the game down and hits impossible mid-range shots. Thompson speeds it up and punishes teams before they can set up. Durant protects the rim. Thompson hounds the ball. They're opposites, and it works because each one makes up for the other's gaps. Even if Thompson never becomes a consistent shooter, it's not going to matter much when he's sharing the floor with someone like Durant. The defense has to chase Durant everywhere, and that gives Thompson all the freedom in the world to attack. And if Thompson does develop into a league average shooter over time, that just supercharges the whole dynamic. Defensively, they'll be able to take on every kind of assignment. Durant can guard wings and power forwards. Thompson can guard point guards, shooting guards, and small forwards. With their length and foot speed, they can hedge, blitz, trap, or switch depending on the matchup. It gives Houston's coaching staff tools to work with instead of having to hide guys on defense. And while Durant's age is always a factor, he'll be 37 soon. His minutes were managed well last season. He played 36.5 minutes per game, the lowest since his early years in Oklahoma City. The Rockets have enough depth to rest him without dropping off too far, and Thompson's all-court energy helps carry some of the burden. It's a trade-off that works. Durant brings stability and scoring when it counts. Thompson brings juice and pace throughout the game. Add it all up, and the Durant-Thompson pairing isn't just a short-term fix or a gimmick, it's a legitimate core. Durant's experience and elite shooting elevate the Rockets into the contender conversation. Thompson's defense and athleticism give them a two-way backbone that makes their lineup sing. This pairing projects as one of the most effective in the league by net rating next year. And that's not just theory. That's what happens when skill sets line up this cleanly. But then let's talk about KD and VanVleet. Durant and VanVleet are a strange pairing on paper. One is a 6-foot floor general with a spotty shooting record. The other is a 6'11" sniper who's quietly one of the best isolation scorers in the league. But when you actually dig into what they do, the synergy makes way more sense than it should. VanVleet's job in Houston was to bring steadiness, spacing, and playmaking to a wildly young team. Last season, he put up 14.4 points, 5.6 assists, and 1.6 steals per game. The shooting numbers look rough: 37.8% from the field, 34.5% from 3 on 7 attempts. But he flipped the switch in the playoff. Across 7 games against Golden State, he shot 43% overall and 43.5% from 3, which is exactly the kind of bump you want from a vet. That's where Durant fits in beautifully. Durant draws attention like a black hole. When he's on the court, defenders have to stay locked onto him because he hit 43% of his threes last year on 6 attempts per game. His catch and shoot numbers are basically illegal. He had a 66.9 effective field goal percentage in those spots. You put that next to VanVleet, and suddenly he's not your go-to scorer anymore. He's got space, he's got time, he's got cleaner looks. And when he doesn't have the shot, he's got Durant as the easiest release valve in the league. VanVleet ran over 5 pick and rolls per game last year, averaging 0.92 points per possession, which is decent but not elite. That number jumps when he's got someone like Durant as the spacing threat. If defenses trap VanVleet on the screen, Durant's wide open. If they switch it, Durant's got the mismatch. If they sag off, VanVleet walks into a rhythm pull-up. Suddenly, every option looks better. But let's talk about the defense, because VanVleet is generously undersized. At 6 feet, he's a target against bigger guards and wings. Last year, he allowed opponents to shoot 46.8% when he was the primary defender. That's not great, but Durant helps hide that weakness. With a 7'5" wingspan and 1.2 blocks per game, Durant adds rim protection behind VanVleet. So even if Fred gets beat off the dribble, there's still help at the rim. And with Durant on the floor, the Rockets can lean into switch-heavy lineups. Thompson, Durant, Smith Jr., and Sengun around VanVleet makes it easier to cover up mismatches and rotate. Offensively, clutch moments are where this duo might shine the most. Houston absolutely collapsed in crunch time during the playoffs last year, managing just 91 offensive rating in those late game minutes. VanVleet, on the other hand, got better. He put up 18.7 points and 4.4 assists per game in the postseason and shot over 43% from deep. Durant, meanwhile, has a 35-game, Game 7 sample where he averaged 26.8 points. That's a guy who shows up when it counts. Together, they bring 2 steady hands, one with floor vision and one with a jump shot that never deserts him. They also don't turn the ball over much. VanVleet averaged just 1.9 turnovers per game last year, with a turnover rate of 13.5%. Durant posted the same turnover rate, and when you pair those two together, you've got a backcourt that won't panic under pressure. For a team that ranked 21st in turnover percentage, that kind of ball control is a huge improvement. The financial side lines up neatly. VanVleet's current contract comes with a massive $44.9 million team option next year, but the Rockets are expected to decline that and renegotiate a longer-term deal, something like 3 years, $75 million. That spreads the cost out and opens up cap flexibility. Durant's $54.7 million expiring contract fits into that plan, especially since Houston is still about $33 million under the luxury tax threshold. That gives them breathing room until 2027, when Thompson's max extension will probably hit the books. And let's not ignore the leadership angle. VanVleet is 30 years old. Durant is 36. They are the 2 oldest players on the team by miles. Everyone else is basically still getting carded at bar. Durant brings 15 All-Star appearances and scoring titles and championship experience. VanVleet won a title with Toronto in 2019 and was a critical part of that team's defense and perimeter shooting. Together, they give Houston something it hasn't had in years: veteran presence that actually produces. In terms of scheme, the pairing is a clean fit for Ime Udoka's system. His 0.5-second offense is all about quick decisions. That's VanVleet's bread and butter. He's not holding the ball or dribbling the air out of it. He's probing, moving it, or attacking. Durant thrives in that kind of environment. He hit over 50% of his catch-and-shoot threes in Udoka-style motion offenses during his career. The Rockets are finally equipped to play smart, fast, and efficient basketball with 2 guys who understand timing and spacing. And it gets even better when you zoom out. Lineups with VanVleet and Durant give Houston the option to get really creative. You can run small with VanVleet, Thompson, Durant, Smith Jr., and Sengun. That group can switch everything, score from all three levels, and hold its own on the glass. They've already posted a plus 8.4 estimated net rating when projected based on synergy and usage. That's top 10 in the league. Durant's ability to slide between positions is also what makes VanVleet viable as a starter late into games. When VanVleet's on, he's a solid creator. When he's off, Durant can take over without any clunkiness. They don't step on each other's roles. Durant scores in isolation. VanVleet works pick and rolls or relocates for threes. Durant spots up on the wing. VanVleet drives and kicks. It's a natural flow. Defensively, when the matchups demand it, VanVleet can be hidden on the weakest offensive guard, while Durant, Thompson, and Smith Jr. take the main assignments. Durant's contest percentage on threes, 45.6%, means shooters aren't getting clean looks. And that's something Houston couldn't always rely on from its wings before. It all adds up to a more complete team on both ends. Even if VanVleet never becomes a high-efficiency scorer again, it doesn't really matter if Durant is doing what Durant always does. The key is balance. VanVleet spaces the floor and takes care of the ball. Durant draws gravity and knocks down impossible shots. One handles the pace, the other handles the moment. Together, they solve a lot of the Rockets' old problems, from half-court clunkiness to late-game meltdowns. In short, Durant and VanVleet bring everything this team needed: shooting, control, defense, leadership, and playoff scoring. They're not a traditional backcourt, but in today's game, roles matter more than label. What matters is they both make the Rockets better, more stable, and more dangerous. And based on how their skill sets line up, this duo's impact is going to show up not just in stats, but in wins. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.